Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to AMS Live on this Sunday. What is it? Still afternoon? Yeah, afternoon. My name is Boy. Last night the clock changed to summertime. Still getting used to it, but we are in the afternoon at the moment. Well, we saw take off just now an A330 from Delta Airlines, 17 years old, and it's on its way to Minneapolis, an A330-300. There's also another A330 already at the threshold, lined up, ready to go. This is Vamos Air. I think it's on behalf of TUI. It's an A330-300 and it's going to go to Madrid. 8 years old, the airplane. Today, short takeoff roll. The wind has changed today. It is blowing from the northeast. These airplanes are taking off in northern direction, which means they have a little bit of crosswind from the right. There was a little rain over here earlier today. It's clearing up at the moment. The south of the Netherlands is still having some rain. There was an area of drizzly rain passing over the Netherlands earlier today. It is leaving and mostly affecting the south of the Netherlands. Schiphol area just a bit exposed, but on the north side of it the majority of the rain is passing more southerly. Approaching right now is KLM flight 1695. It's a Boeing 737-800 from KLM on its way to Lisbon, and she is 22 years old. Everybody who is tuning in, welcome to the stream. Now the 737 is going to the runway threshold. So let me see. Yep, I still have the chat open. Greetings from Los Angeles, says Ghost. Ghost, good morning to you. Early morning for you probably. YouTube fan, goedemiddag, hello. Maurits Schoenmakers, goedemiddag, welcome to the stream. Steve J says, thanks for streaming, my pleasure. Hey there Bart, goedemiddag. Eddie de Pauw from Almere, good day to you, hope you're well. Now back to the camera. see the chat is already very active. Haven't had time to read them all. Now, as you guys can see, it is still cloudy over here. We did see it getting lighter just a little, so I am hopeful that maybe we might even see some sunlight later today, but there is also still quite some wind. I think the crackling is also back, which is weird because when I was over at runway 27 yesterday, when I removed the rain cover, if you guys noticed, there was no crackling, which surprised me because the wind over there yesterday was much fiercer than it has been so far over here around the Polderbaan. So I'm inclined to think that the crackling is not being caused by a connector to my camera, because otherwise you would probably hear it as well today. Anyway, maybe if there are some more tech savvy people out there, we could discuss this further. Let me have a look. I see that Erik Zegeling is also checking in. Goedemiddag. And he's saying that the Queen is coming. Awesome. Roadhog, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you. Now, I was reading through the chat yesterday, and am I correct in reading that you are the one who started Flying Matters back in the day? Because that makes you a pioneer of aviation streaming here in the Netherlands, the Jerry Dyer of the Netherlands. But I didn't understand exactly if that was true or not. Frank Bruning, goedemiddag, good afternoon. Sophia Broden, good day to you, hope you're doing well. Gisela, good day, welcome to the stream. Gosse also checking in, hi there buddy, hope you're doing well mate. Jerry Donnelly, good day to you, welcome back, good to see you. Henky, good day, hope you're well. Tomo100 says sound is good, I'm glad to hear. I am trying something different today. I am also using the front cover of my laptop tent, see if maybe the crackling is caused by something internally. So just testing. Hopefully I'll find the solution someday. Gosse also confirming sound is good over there. Well, it's mostly the crackling that I'm still concerned about, because that is still something I haven't found the definitive answer to. Meanwhile, I can see that there's a Queen underway, and looks like Suparna. Haven't checked flight radar just yet, but so less than 10 minutes in and the first Queen is already coming this way. Awesome. H-Man, good day, welcome to the stream, hope you're doing well. Gisela, good day, hope you're doing well. Now I also already see people super chatting. It is amazing. Thank you so much, Jerry, for your donation. Really much appreciated. And thank you also, Freak Free, for your kind donation. Very much appreciated. You guys, what an amazing audience this channel is having. Right, well folks, back to flight radar it is. Let me see, there are 3 planes on the way. First one being the Queen. It is Suparna Airlines flight 87414, Boeing 747-400 on its way to Nanjing. The airplane is 31 years old, ladies and gentlemen. She's from 1991. A whole different world back then. Now the Queen is probably going to taxi to the threshold. Behind it is a KLM Embraer 175, KLM flight 1987, going to Basel, which the city is in Switzerland, but I learned that the airport is actually in France officially. The Embraer 175 will probably take a shortcut and come right towards us to go ahead of the 747, and maybe the 737 will do the same. The Embraer 175 is 6 years old, first flight January 2017. Behind it is a Transavia, one of the few 737-700s. Now Flight Radar doesn't say its destination. It does say that the airplane is 20 years old and the first flight was in March 2003. Koenie Linux, goedemiddag. Welcome back. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Rafael Fernandino checking in from BLQ. Hope you're doing well. Let me quickly go back to the camera so that we don't miss the departure of the Embraer. Alright, let me quickly go back with the camera towards the runway threshold where the Suparna 747 is lined up, ready to go. Meanwhile, K4 is going to enter the field from the left. See by the spray, the runway is still wet from this morning. "31 years old, this lady, using quite a lot of runway." Now you can see that despite the clouds in the background, visibility at lower levels is still good. No clouds with a low cloud base, so we can follow the Queen relatively easily. Though the grey background does provide less contrast than a blue sky would, but so far the camera is holding up. I think she just went into the clouds, or at least on my little camera screen, she's no longer visible. Meanwhile, the Transavia 737-700 is going to take off. The baby of the bunch. Always nice to see one of them. As most of the 737s you see these days are 800, 900s, max 8s, max 9s, all longer. Now there's already another plane lined up. It is another Embraer 175 from KLM. Didn't even have time to check the details on flight radar. Now, this is one of the 2 runways currently open for departures. At least when I was setting up, runway 09 was also open for departures. So we might not see all outbound traffic today this afternoon. Meanwhile, another Embraer 175 already lined up at the threshold. So, this is KLM flight 1201 going to Stavanger. The airplane 5 years old. First flight May 2017. Basically, this airplane only has to fly straight ahead and it will eventually get to Norway. Same for the airplanes that go to Bergen. Relatively easy for the pilots. Pull the stick towards you for takeoff, push it back down again for landing. Well, it's been a little bit more involved than that, of course, but now, if I zoom out maximally, turn the camera a little bit to the northwest, you can see there are little patches of blue sky. If I turn back around towards the runway threshold and towards the south, you can still see the rain area in the distance, passing from west to east over the south of the Netherlands. So over here it's dry and we're expecting that to stay so, to remain so the rest of the afternoon. Meanwhile, we can see two airplanes coming this way, one EasyJet, one KLM. Let me check for you guys. Ingrid Fato, good day, welcome. Hope you're well. Checking in from Malta, where undoubtedly the weather is better. Photo for you informing us that there's a 380 coming in. Is it leaving already? Isn't the A380 normally... Or is it... Oh, they still operate on the wintertime schedule probably. Normally they depart back to Dubai around 2:30 or so. Well, first up is an A320neo on its way, or almost on its way, while taxiing is also on the way to London Gatwick. The airplane, 3 years old, first flight October 2019. Always a lovely sound, hearing those Neos spool up like mini GE90s. If you close your eyes, you'd think it is A777. So this airplane now departing to the north has to go to London, so it has to go to the left. Once it reaches the canal that you can see on Google Maps or any map of the Netherlands, there's a canal north of Amsterdam connecting the North Sea to an inland lake called Markermeer. Also passes through the city of Amsterdam. It's called the North Sea Canal. And let me quickly go back, because the A330 is already lined up and ready to go. Don't want to miss that. The A330 300 on its way to Washington. 8 years old, first flight October 2014. Now let me zoom out and pan back to the direction of the main platform area, because more is underway. No less than 3 airplanes are visible at the moment. We see another A320neo from SAS outbound to Oslo in the foreground. probably going to come this way. Don't think it's going to go to the threshold. I was wrong, it is going to the threshold. The airplane, 4 years old, first flight November 2018. And behind it is a Dreamliner from KLM that is going to fly to Nairobi. 787-10 Dreamliner, KLM flight 565. The Dreamliner, brand new, was delivered in June last year. Sorry, first flight was June last year. Keep saying the wrong thing. Number 3 is a 777-200 from KLM that is going to fly to Rio de Janeiro. A 777-200 ER, 18 years old, first flight November 2004. Meanwhile, I see more people joining us. Welcome everybody. Paul Beadle, good afternoon. Nia, guten Tag. Jan Hendricks, goeiedag, good day. Vic, Meester, good day to you, sir. Welcome back, good to see you, hope you're doing well. So, we are seeing a lot of traffic behind it. In the background, more traffic underway. Meanwhile, the Neo was already taking off. Hardly any time to look at flight radar or look at all the chats. I do try to read all your messages, and if I miss them, I do read all the chats after I'm done streaming. When I get home, always checking, is the sound good, how was the bit rate, did I miss any chats, did I miss any spammers. So I do read your messages, even if it doesn't seem that way when live. I do read everything afterwards. Such an elegant sight when those wings already curve upward, even flex more during rotation and during takeoff. Not without the reason that I also took the silhouette of the Dreamliner as my channel logo. Has to be one of the most elegant airplanes ever built thus far. Though airplanes are getting more aesthetically pleasing these days. The A350, Neos. You can see it's getting busy. First up, this triple. In terms of engine sounds, nothing beats the GE90s in my opinion. If you feel otherwise, do let us know. Let me quickly turn around because it is back-to-back action. There is already an A330 lined up, ready to go. And more is underway. Although I think we might see a Transavia 737 taking off first. Nope. I do hear it spool up the A330. Now it will be interesting if the Transavia 737 will go first or if the Embraer at the threshold will go first. Don't see any lights on yet on the Transavia, so I am going to pan to the right, thinking that this one will take off first. Mario Zijt, good day from Berlin, welcome back, hope you're doing well. Malik G says this plane spotting place at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport is amazing. It sure is. This is definitely one of my favorite spots to be streaming from. AV Pladra, good day. Blackhurst 99, good day, hope you're doing well. Let me quickly go back to the knobs because the KLM is rolling. Meanwhile, I can hear the 737 ready to go in front of us, landing up on the runway. People who have flight radar kind of cheated and already know the answer, but I spied with my little eye something in the background coming this way. Starts with O and ends with Runge Pride. So as the Transavia takes to the sky, let me go back and show you. There she is, the PH-BVA, the 777-300ER, also known as the Orange Pride. And it is a long line Didn't have time to check flight radar, but I would be inclined to think that currently this is the only runway open and 09 has closed. And the next Embraer already at the threshold. My eyes tearing from the wind. Quickly wipe them. So the Embraer 190 we see at the threshold is going to go to Bristol. She's 13 years old. First flight July 2009. Meanwhile, the next Embraer lined up at the threshold, ready to go. Once it gets permission, this Embraer is going to go to London City. Embraer 190, 11 years old, first flight January 2012. After that will be the 787-909 going to LAX, KLM flight 603. So this is KLM flight 603 outbound to LAX, 7879 Dreamliner, 5 years old, first flight January 2017. Folks, if you're liking what you're seeing and you haven't done so already, consider subscribing to the channel. It will greatly help me to reach more people like you and me who are also into content like this. Plus, it allows you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live, you receive a heads up. And if you have the time for it and are feeling like it, can join us once again for great aviation action over here at Schiphol Airport. as pretty as she is, I am going to turn around back to the runway threshold because the Orange Pride 777 already lined up, ready to go. We'll have to wait a little bit for the wake turbulence to dissipate, but won't be long. So quickly, KLM flight 757, it is the Orange Pride off to Panama City, 15 years old, first flight January 2008. Now, I quickly had a sneak peek to my right and I can see that there is another Queen coming this way. So, with or without your permission, I am going to zoom out a little bit and turn around back to the direction of the main platform area. You guys can see 3 planes in a row already underway. So the Queen we see is Air China Cargo flight 1040. It's a 747-400 freighter. She will be going to Shanghai. She is 16 years old. First flight was in April 2006. Behind it is a KLM A330-300 that will be going to Oranjestad in the Caribbean. She is 11 years old, first flight February 2012, and then there is another Embraer 175 from KLM behind it, going to Copenhagen in Denmark, 4 years old, first flight April 2018. And it seems that the A330 might be going ahead. Don't see that very often, a heavy taking a shortcut, but it is actually taking place. Even though I don't find A330s particularly aesthetically pleasing, Their engines, when they spool up, they do give a visceral roar that you feel in your belly as well as you're standing alongside the runway. Definitely something that I very much appreciate in these airplanes. Something you won't see much more in the future, as all airplanes have to become more quiet, which will also make their takeoffs less intensive for us, the viewer. So the second queen, and if I look to my right, to my left, I can also see the first A350 of the day. So all we need to get everything complete is a 767, but who knows, Latin cargo, maybe. Already leaning to the right to compensate for the crosswind. As I was saying before, the wind is blowing from the northeast at the moment. These airplanes take off in northern direction, which means that there is crosswind from the right for these airplanes. Now luckily it is nowhere near as windy as it was yesterday. For the people in the open like me today, a bit more comfort, although you are still very much exposed to the wind here constantly. So we have a little Embraer 175 outbound to Copenhagen, and pressing away flight radar. There we go. 4 years old. First flight April 2018, and behind it is Delta Airlines flight 75 and A350-900 going to Atlanta, and that is also a 4-year-old airplane. First flight of the A350 was in 2019 April, if I saw it correctly. Now let me quickly turn around because there is an A350 lining up at the threshold. After that it seems that we will have to wait a few minutes before the following traffic will be arriving. That's no problem. There's always more traffic underway over here at Schiphol Airport. That is one thing you know for sure. Unless you're Standing at the Polderbaan on a Friday morning. So this A350 off to the United States will first fly to the United Kingdom, and depending on the prevailing jet streams will enter one of the North Atlantic tracks westbound, somewhere between Ireland and Scotland typically. So as this airplane approaches the aforementioned North Sea Canal, it's going to make a left-hand turn into the direction of Wijk aan Zee, where Tata Steel is also situated. Just land inward of the coast over there. Schiphol has a lot of people living in the vicinity, so there are a lot of noise abatement regulations that prescribe when and how and where inbound and outbound traffic is allowed to fly. Now you can see it is approaching the North Sea Canal and initiating the left-hand turn. Also entering into the clouds, so unable to follow it further. Now we will have to wait a few minutes to see the next traffic coming this way. Let me have a look at flight radar to see what is going on. And I think we will see another A350 first. Looks like China Southern to Guangzhou is going to taxi over here, but it's still only at the main platform area at the moment. It will have to taxi around runway 18 center, 36 center first. Still closed for maintenance, as I already said a few times before. Maintenance is expected to last until somewhere in April, so it will be a few more weeks before the runway will reopen again, assuming that they will not get delayed, as most of construction here in the Netherlands, most projects always get delayed, whether it is government or the roads or in the private sector. Let me take this moment to also take a sip of my coffee in my thermos, because it is getting cold slowly but surely. So I see a lot of activity in the chat. For those of you who joined us later, welcome to the stream, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy, it is a Sunday afternoon and we are standing alongside runway 36 left, the Polderbaan, one of the two runways in use for departures. But let me check, maybe it is the only runway, but I think not. No, runway 09 is also still open for business. Wind is blowing from the northeast, apologies. So both 09 and 36 left have a bit of headwind and also a bit of crosswind. Both are viable options for the current wind conditions. Kaagbaan, runway 06 is in use for landings at the moment. Haven't seen the Aalsmeerbaan or 36 right open up yet, so are waiting a few minutes. Rick, Rick Meester says, so boy, my girlfriend and I came up with a question. That's a good initiative. What do you do when you suddenly have to go to the toilet? Well, that's a very good question. The fact is that I always prepare before going out by first of all going to the toilet before leaving the house, and also by not drinking too much in advance, so that I can at least hold up my pee for at least 4 hours or so. Otherwise, at least when you are around the Polderbaan, there are public toilets at the parking lot of the official Spottersplatz for the Polderbaan. When you stand, as I was yesterday, alongside runway 27, you could always go to the McDonald's if you really had to. But most of the time, it's just a matter of managing your liquid intake properly and not drink too much beforehand. And once I'm on site, I can allow myself to drink a bit more because I know that I can hold it up then. But a photo for you says you could go stand against the trees. They really see you from the tower. Yeah, particularly from the tower over here. No, but so far I've been managing just by drinking smartly, that is, not too much before going out, and only start drinking more liquids when you're on site. However, I also have wondered how these guys from the LA-based aviation streams that sometimes stream 8, 10, 12 hours a day, how they do it. If they use diapers or so. So if anybody knows that by any chance, do let us know in the chat, because I am curious. Maybe they have a catheter or something. So let me have a look at flight radar. See if... Yeah, so I can see that the A350 is coming this way, and let me see, can I see it already? There is an E2 Embraer 195 from KLM outbound to Hamburg underway. That will be number one, but the A350 has just turned around the corner around the southern threshold of 18 center, so expect that in a few minutes. Last time I was standing here for departures, we saw one of KLM's E2 Embraer 195s. It looked like it was spooling up, but then it rejected the takeoff, exited at the first exit, and taxied back to the gate. So I never quite learned what was wrong with it. The aviation websites I checked in the days afterwards didn't say anything about it, so I have no idea what it was. If somebody fell ill, if there was something, if they got an error during the checklist. But I will be curious to see if this E2 Embraer will take off without any issues. We'll find out soon enough. I can see that the lights are already on, so coming this way, potentially a turn and burn rolling start. You can see the A350 on the right, in the background also coming this way. First up, this E2 Embraer off to Hamburg, short flight. Thrust set. It did use a lot of runway, but no issues there. Now, this is the first time I'm streaming the entire stream from the start without using a panhandle, just operating the camera on the tripod manually. See if it is better for me than using the panhandle. Not yet fully convinced, but there is also wind still blowing that also causes some shudder, which you would also have if you used a panhandle. It does allow me to stand closer behind the camera and make the turn more easily. Maybe using a handle is ergonomically a bit better. Now, I saw that I forgot to I highlighted a message a while ago and I totally forgot about it. So sorry for spamming your video screen for such a long time. Meanwhile, the Schiphol scarecrows are also sending off some fireworks. Happy New Year, everybody! So meanwhile, the A350 to Guangzhou is just about lined up and ready to go. They make a distinctive roar, these engines from the A350s. But there's a low basic component in their rumble. You also hear that with the A380 as it spools up. Those new Airbuses have a very recognizable engine sound that you could almost recognize with your eyes closed. Where the triples and also the Dreamliners have a more predominantly high pitch. There's a little low pitched rumble present in these Airbuses. So in terms of heavies, we're still missing the 767 and the A300. Otherwise, I think we have seen all of them, at least the ones that fly to Schiphol, of course. Now, the next batch of airplanes is still taxiing towards the runway, but you can already see them as they are on the move over here. There's an Embraer in the foreground. Let's have a look. The Embraer in the foreground is an Embraer E2-195 going to Milan, and is brand new, was delivered in January this year, so only 2 months old, or first flight I should say. The second airplane is an Embraer 175 going to Norwich, and she's 6 years old, first flight February 2017. Now in the background there is another Embraer coming this way off to London Heathrow, an Embraer 190, and that is a 13-year-old plane that was flying for the first time in January 2010. Zooming out a bit further, more is underway. Although not yet in the vicinity. Meanwhile, the E2 Embraer 195 about to take off. Back at the threshold. The Embraer 175 to Norwich. Next up, the Embraer 190 outbound to London Heathrow. Now the wind is constantly making my eyes water. Really a bad day in that respect. I'm also not still fully convinced that my current method of following the airplanes is superior to using a panhandle, so I think I am going to mount it, see if that makes a difference. We are waiting for the next airplanes that are still out in the distance, gradually coming this way. Which should give me enough time to mount the panhandle back onto the tripod. Yes, that should probably work better. I also had image stabilizer still on. Switch that off as well, because I haven't been using it normally, only when it was blowing really hard. So, coming this way, one of Aer Lingus' Airbuses. Mr. Pizza already informing us it will be flying to Dublin, Ireland. Maxime also informing us it will be flying to Ireland. You guys already spilled the beans, so to speak, but let me then at least have a look at flight radar. Working with gloves on is a bit of a pain in the you-know-what. Let me just switch to take them off again. So this airplane, 22 years old, first flight February 2001. Right. Meanwhile, both my eyes and my nose start tearing up because of the wind. So this is KLM flight 1943 off to Zagreb, Embraer 190, 12 years old, first flight August 2010. Planes in the distance visible coming this way. In the foreground is Iceland Air 501 going to Reykjavik, Boeing 737 MAX 9, that is 3 years old, first flight March 2019, and behind it is a regular 737-800 from KLM outbound to Helsinki, 9 years old, first flight May 2013. Zooming out a bit further, there is also an Embraer 190 outbound to Valencia, taxiing this way, still alongside runway 18 center, but coming up this way, and we'll be arriving here shortly. Russell remarks, love watching the brake dust poof when the wheels stop to lock in place. Excellent remark, I fully agree. Sometimes people think it is smoke, but it is just the brakes that are stopped before being fully retracted. Something with forces and physics that I at some point probably learned in school, but don't know the exact details about anymore. Now the Iceland Air is going to exit to the threshold. Let's see what the KLM is going to do. Will it follow suit or will it come this way and skip ahead? It won't. So both planes now underway to the runway threshold. The young leading the old, leading the way. Meanwhile, the Embraer 190 has come this way, or at least it has made it over to the transition area from one runway to the next. First is Iceland Air 737 to Reykjavik. So the next 737, the old generation, already lined up, ready to go. Now I've been using my pen handle again for the last couple of departures. I'm starting to doubt whether or not I like it better. Maybe just use the manual operation of the camera on the tripod without any handles. I do think using the handle with a rubber band, as I've always been using, does allow for smoother following. The only downside of my new tripod, the Sachtler Ace, is that there's only a single screw thread where you can screw the handlebar onto. That's on the right hand side, so if you are making panning directions in a different direction, it is a bit more difficult. You can, of course, because the handle is curved, change the angle of the handlebar vis-a-vis the mount itself. Does compensate for some of the inconvenience, but right. Seems that we will have to wait a few more minutes again before the next traffic comes this way. Are a few planes taxiing over here. The first one just going to come around the corner, or no, it already has come around the corner. Will be a 737-800 from Transavia outbound to Marsa Alam, and that is in Egypt. That particular airplane, 9 years old, first flight February 2014. 3 more planes are following it, including an A320neo from Turkish outbound to Istanbul, an A318 from Air France that will be heading out to Charles de Gaulle, Paris, and another Embraer 175 from KLM for the shortest flight of them all that isn't a relocation flight to Brussels. Will there be any heavies underway? By the looks of it, there is a Dreamliner coming this way, but it's still on the east part of the main platform area. 7879 that will be flying to New York JFK. So we will be seeing more heavies, but we will have to wait just a little longer. Now, I see we have over 300 viewers at the moment. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy and this is departures on a Sunday afternoon. Runway 36 left, the Polderbaan, furthest removed from the main platform area. You can see the main control tower in the distance, in the middle of the screen. You can imagine that planes taking off over here are so far out that air traffic control will have difficulties seeing everything. So that is why over here to the left, this runway has its dedicated control tower. It also has a dedicated fire station, if you guys didn't know yet. That's over here. If you set up over here for live streaming in the mornings, you often see a group of 3 vehicles doing a patrol round around the runway. If you're standing here setting up, they will always honk and wave at you. So also if you have small children and you want to go plane spotting, definitely fun for them as well. So here is one of Transavia's many 737-800s outbound to Marsa Alam, if I recall correctly. Location somewhere in Egypt. She will be departing right in front of us over here. Now if you're liking what you're seeing and you have not already, consider subscribing to the channel. It allows you to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up. Plus it helps me to reach more people like you and me who are also into content like this. Now, to the right in the background you already saw the windmills that are in the port area of Amsterdam spinning. We are having wind that is blowing from the northwest. These planes take off in northern direction, which means that there is crosswind from the right for these airplanes and headwind. Temperature has also decreased somewhat compared to the previous couple of days. I think it's around 8 degrees centigrade at the moment, so that's 46-ish Fahrenheit. I think we are expecting 2 cold nights, and then I think it would get a little bit better, but full-blown spring, not so much. Even though last night we went to summertime over here in Europe, so the time difference between the United States and Europe is what it normally would be, so 6 hours New York, 9 hours West Coast. So 3 planes taxiing this way, and I can see a couple more underway. The Dreamliner to JFK is also getting closer by. So first up, Turkish, flight 7769, or Anadolu jet operated by Turkish, I should say. It is an A320 Neo, brand new. Had its first flight last September. It's being followed by an A318 from Air France. It's going to fly to Paris Charles de Gaulle, short flight, and the A318, 17 years old, first flight October 2005, and behind it is an Embraer 175 from KLM, flight 1725, outbound to Brussels, and she's 7 years old, first flight March 2016. It's the first batch, and there is a second batch underway further out in the distance. An Embraer 190 from LOT going to Warsaw. That plane, 4 years old, first flight December 2018. And there's another Embraer 190 to Oslo, also making its way over here. That one is 7 years old, first flight November 2015. Meanwhile, the Anadolu jet Neo taxiing towards the the runway threshold, and you can see that there is an airplane skipping the line, coming this way. Lights are already on, as you can see. We'll make a rolling start, or as it's called in some channels, turn and burn. Now, ladies and gentlemen, wave to the pilots before they are taking off. You can see how small these A318s are compared to the regular A320s. So the Anadolu jet Neo already lined up, so let me quickly turn around the camera. She's already lined up at the threshold. We'll have to wait a few minutes to get clearance, and then she will be off. So the Embraer 175 is also already lined up at the threshold, so let me turn around the camera back so we can see it take off. These smaller airplanes don't have to wait a lot of time for wake turbulence to dissipate as they would behind after a heavy has taken off. Now if I look to my left, I think I see the Dreamliner outbound to JFK already approaching. At least from what I can see in the distance, it looks like a Dreamliner. Might be wrong, but we'll find out soon enough. The lot Embraer next to the part already lined up, just waiting for clearance. Meanwhile, I see that Dan Mosling Air du Leal are also tuning in. Good afternoon, hope you guys are doing well. Now we're waiting for this lot Embraer to Warsaw to get clearance and start taking off. Henky asks if it is busy at the Spottersplatz. Well, there are the location where I'm standing at is becoming sort of a Spottersplatz. I will show you in a moment. And it's hard for me to see in the distance because I didn't go to the Spottersplatz to park my car. Typically, when it's dry in the weekends, it's always busy. But let me try to show you insofar as I can from over here. We're already pointing the camera in the general direction of the Spottersplatz, so my guess would be that it is busy, as it's already. There's also already a crowd gathering over here. Now, that's too far. Yeah, this is the parking lot of the Spottersplatz. You can see the bathrooms. They are just left of the orange little house there. You can also see that the French fry or ice cream vehicle is there. Parking lot seems to be busy. Quite typical for the weekend. Now if I turn around the camera to the other side, over here also a crowd has gathered, aviation enthusiasts looking at the planes from this perfect location for takeoffs. Now there is another Embraer coming over here, but you guys probably already saw it. It is the New York bound Dreamliner that is next after this Embraer 190. Needed. Meanwhile, back in the direction of the threshold, we can see that the Dreamliner to New York is already lined up. Well, Usher, good afternoon. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, mate. And Laszlo asks what the weather conditions are. I will show you in a minute by zooming out. It is dry, it is a bit windy. Wind is blowing from the northeast. Temperature approximately 8 degrees centigrade. That is 46 Fahrenheit. This is KLM flight 641 outbound to New York, JFK. 7879 Dreamliner, 4 years old. First flight August 2018, and she is ready to go. Lights did already go on. So Kat, this airplane is coming to you. So this plane too has to enter one of the North Atlantic tracks to cross the Atlantic over to North America. So it will have to turn to the left, fly to the west towards the United Kingdom, where somewhere between Ireland and Scotland it's going to enter on one of the North Atlantic tracks. Predetermined route, most of you will already know probably. There's no ATC coverage over the ocean, so depending on the prevailing winds, routes are set out and each airplane crossing the ocean, whether it's eastbound or westbound, gets assigned a route, an altitude, and has to fly that. Now, we have had rain in this part of the country and also in the southern half of the country this morning. An area of rain, but you can see if I look, this is to the west. This is back to the north as an Embraer from KLM took off. This is to the east. And earlier during the stream, when I pointed the camera in this direction, so that is to the south more or less, you could still see dark clouds as the area was still leaving the country. I think it's well on their way of leaving the country now. I haven't had a look at the flight radar yet, but we should have dry weather for the rest of the afternoon, other than a bit of wind from the northeast and somewhat colder temperatures than the previous couple of days. As I already mentioned a couple of times, I am wearing gloves, but they are too thin in hindsight, but yeah, that's too late now. Approximately 8 degrees centigrade, so that is approximately 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the Embraer we see over here, the Boeing 737-800 we see over here is outbound to Oslo, KLM flight 1147. The airplane, 22 years old, first flight was in August 2000. Dan Musseling, also good afternoon to you. My apologies if I don't read all of your, if I miss some of your chats. I do see them on my telephone screen, but don't always have a lot of time to look at all the messages, so I might sometimes miss a few. I do read all the chats from each stream afterward when I get home, also to make sure that no unwanted spam gets filtered through, or other unwanted things are being said in the chat. That's the upside of being the owner, if you will, of the channel. I can also block users in the chat afterwards, so if I do miss a Tinder XXX spammer, I can still block the user after the fact when I get home. So I do read all of your messages, but as a one-man band it is sometimes a bit involved live streaming, so I do sometimes miss some of your chats. Right. Casper Janssen says that in about 40 minutes the A380 is coming. That is very good news. I look forward to seeing the A380 depart for a change. Now, the caveat is that it has to come to this runway and not go to runway 09 and take off from there, which might still be a possibility. Runway 09 on and off used as a departure runway today, along with 36 left. Which means that we will have to wait first to see what runway the A380 is going to take off from. But I'll keep my fingers crossed that it's going to be from this runway. We've seen the A380 land more often than we've seen her take off so far. In fact, I think it would be a channel first now that I think about it. Cannot recall having seen the A380 take off, at least not while streaming. So it could be a channel first then. Saulo Freitas, bom dia. I see that we also have a lot of Portuguese speaking people over here at AMS Live, people from Brazil and other nations that speak Portuguese. Joel watching from New York City. Well, in a few hours from now you can see the Dreamliner land at JFK. 6 hours or so. Now we are waiting for the next airplanes to come this way. Will not take too long, but we will have to wait a little bit. Erik van Balen is saying that 787-10 is taxiing. That's probably I'm running behind the chat. That was probably the KLM outbound to JFK. Du Leal says esta aqui é umas das melhores lives. I probably totally mispronounced that, but if I do understand correctly, you're saying that this is one of the best ones. If that's the case, thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it. Mike Wild checking in from England. Good day to you, sir. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Now, Paul, if you are still watching, Paul Usher, if your offer still applies, I think I might want to take you up on it, particularly on days such as yesterday, when it is very involved live streaming and battling with the wind. It's hard for me to see all the chat, and maybe somebody who could moderate every now and then would be helpful. So if you're still offering, I am interested, but that's all up to you. Meanwhile, I see Slow Brown Fox checking in from Western Australia. Good day. What is it? Good evening, good night, good morning? No, you're out ahead in time, so it's good night probably for you then. Kathleen says, I'd love to moderate. Well, I would love to take you up on that, so let me assign you. If you want to, then I'll assign you as a moderator once I get home and make sure that we do that. Thank you so much. Mats Bjorn from Denmark checking in. Good day to you. And Slow Brown Fox says, evening here. Yeah, it is what, 9 hours time, 10 hours time difference. Now let me also have a look at Flight Radar, ladies and gentlemen, because as you can see, there is a tail from an airplane coming this way. Oh, I see that there's also a 777-200 also outbound to JFK, taxiing over here. We are seeing the first glimpses of an EasyJet A319 that is going to fly to London Luton. This airplane, 14 years old, first flight December 2008, and there are two heavies following it. The first one being the 777-200 I mentioned just now, outbound to New York JFK, and behind it is going to be Delta Airlines Flight 145, an A330-300 outbound to Seattle. So almost the exact opposite side, well, opposite end of mainland UK, both in the north, but one in the northeast, the other in the northwest. A330-300, and behind the Delta A330 is a CRJ from SAS, also coming this way. I can also see that there's a Dreamliner from KLM that is going to go to Mexico City, also taxiing this way. Now this traffic still all have to go around runway 18 center, 36 center, still closed for maintenance. They cannot take the shortcut in the middle of the runway to cross over from the main platform area to the area connecting to the Polderbaan, this runway. Meanwhile, the EasyJet Airbus is getting closer by, which means that it's back to the camera in a few moments for me. Gaming Wolves 593 from Indonesia, Banda Aceh. Good evening, and Wendy, good afternoon. Coming this way, a well-known silhouette. Now, I think I also still have coffee left in my thermos, so let me quickly take a sip. It's getting colder. I didn't order iced coffee. I wanted regular coffee. warm. Up, up, and away. Now, let me zoom out and turn towards the main platform area again, because we are also seeing A377 from KLM coming this way. And can we see more in the background? We do. There's the A330. I think we can also barely make out the CRJ. Distinctly recognizable with the engines mounted to the fuselage. I think the CRJ is the only airplane visiting Schiphol that still has that. Obviously we used to have KLM City Hopper used to have Fokker 70s and Fokker 100s. They also have the engines mounted to the fuselage in the back, but as most of you will probably know already, all the Fokkers have been phased out in favor of the Embraers. We also used to have turboprop Fokker 50s. Also, a while ago, although I do remember as a child going plane spotting, you would see planes like that, but also the MD-11s and other airplanes like you don't see anymore. So this is KLM flight 645 777-200ER outbound to New York JFK. The airplane 18 years old, first flight September 2004. And Sandra DB checking in from Italy. Welcome to the stream, hope you're doing well. GE90s, General Electric, second to none, if you ask me. Meanwhile, over at the threshold, the Delta A330 just turning onto the threshold. Let me see. So she's outbound to Seattle, an A330-300 Delta Airlines flight 145. The airplane, 16 years old, first flight November 2006. Alright. Let's quickly turn around. The CRJ from SES lined up already. We'll have to wait a little. Wake turbulence, of course, that first has to dissipate. Otherwise, they're in for a bumpy start. So this is the Mitsubishi CRJ 900 outbound to Stockholm. 15 years old. First flight January 2008. SES flight 558 operated by X-Fly. And Fred L asks which camera I use to film with. I use a Canon XA40 and I have a Rode Video Mic Go 2 shotgun mic mounted on top of it. If you go to my YouTube channel page, to the community tab, you can find a picture of it, also with the tripod that I'm using, the Sachtler Ace M tripod, fluid head tripod. Now, believe it or not, but looks like the sun is even getting a few moments to shine over here. Although it doesn't look like it's out full. Clouds are opening up a little bit by the looks of it. Not that it gets any warmer over here. My hands are still borderline cold. My gloves are too thin, but if I zoom out fully, you guys can see things are opening up a little bit, although this is not the direction of the wind. The wind is blowing from this direction. Sorry, no. My bad. Wind is blowing from the northeast, so this is directly into the headwind. Well, things are opening up just a little, at least compared to what it was earlier today. Southern half of the Netherlands was having rain. The north kept it dry, maybe even a little glimpse of sun, but now YouTube fan informing us that Suparna 747 and Atlas Air 747 are on the radar. Erik van Balen also mentioning that there will be a queen incoming. Nestor Betancourt, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, checking in from the Canary Islands. Hello and welcome to the stream. All others who have joined us in the meantime, welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. This is runway 36 left, the Polderbaan, where we are looking at departures throughout the afternoon. Now, runway 09 has also been used for departures on and off, so not all outbound traffic has passed in front of us, but a lot has. And if I look to my left, there is more underway. I think I see a triple coming this way. I see two other planes. I will show you in a moment, but you can see the Dreamliner is taking off. Now, while the panhandle does allow me to, particularly in combination with a rubber band, it does allow me to track more smoothly. I do notice that particularly for panning left and right with the maximum drag setting on my tripod, I do still sometimes make shaky movements. I'm thinking maybe if I place the rubber band higher up, reducing the arm length, less moment, more inertia, maybe that will make for less jittery tracking. Something to try at the next stream and something to fix when I get home. Now there's a 777 from United taxiing to the runway threshold. There's also an EasyJet Airbus and it has already passed the entrance to the runway, so it will also be going to the runway threshold. This looks like a TUI Dreamliner if I see that properly, and that would be a Boeing 737. Looks like a Boeing 737 from Ryanair. Alright, American Airlines. Off to San Francisco. Airplane, oldie, 25 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Be one of the earliest deliveries of the 777. 25 years old, 1997 if I recall correctly, for the first flight. I think somebody once said in the chat that it was somewhere in the mid-90s that the first 777s got delivered. So, next up, an EasyJet A319 off to London Gatwick. This airplane, particular airplane, 16 years old, first flight March 2007. Great Wezelman says she's glad that we're able to see this. You're welcome, my pleasure. Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, look what's coming. It is a Queen Suparna. Now we're waiting for EasyJet Airbus to take off. Don't know what they're waiting for, but it won't be long before they're going to take off, undoubtedly. right. Off to London. Back to the threshold it is. TUI Dreamliner on the one hand, and Suparna Queen on the other. Nestor asks why those planes are called Queens. They are the Queen of the Skies, nickname of the Boeing 747. Hence we refer to them as Queens, and some people refer to A380s as Kings. Right, Dreamliner already departing. Back to the camera it is then. Flex. Alright, as pretty as she is. The Suparna Queen taxiing towards the runway threshold. But at the runway threshold there is a Ryanair 737 off to Dublin, Ireland. 737-800. 16 years old, first flight, January 2007. There's movement. Now, interestingly, 747 from Suparna not continuing to taxi onto the threshold immediately. I'm looking around to see if maybe I see bird controllers on the runway somewhere, but I don't. Now you can also see that the 747 is continuing to taxi to the threshold, so meanwhile, I can also see the second Queen from Atlas Air almost coming around the corner. Still taxiing just alongside runway 18 center, 36 center. So this is Suparna Airlines flight 87412. It's a 747-400 off to Nanjing. The airplane, 25 years old, first flight was in January 1998. So she's a millennial. Give it up for the Queen. Is it number 2 or 3 of this stream? I've lost count. At least the second, maybe even the third already. I think the second, not sure. I think both have been Suparna so far. Been 3, maybe 3. China Eastern or something like that. I think that's also one we saw today. This is probably the third Queen already. Maybe the... yeah, I think it's the third, but... well, folks, one Queen has only just left, and the next Queen from Atlas Air is coming already. Now, first we will see this A330 from KLM depart. It's an A330-200 KLM flight 587. Which is outbound to Lagos, and it is a 17-year-old aircraft. First flight August 2005, and behind it is the Atlas Air 747-400 freighter outbound to Chicago O'Hare, and this Queen is 24 years old. Also a millennial. First flight December 1998. Now folks, if you're liking what you're seeing and you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Helps me greatly to reach more people like you and me who are also into content like this. Plus it allows you the opportunity to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up, and if you have the time for it and are feeling like it, can join us again for another live stream of aviation action over here at the ever bustling Schiphol Airport. My thermos of coffee is empty. Let me quickly take a sip of water. And go back to the camera where over at the threshold the Atlas Air 747 is turning onto the threshold. There she is. I don't see any of the Embraers that are also taxiing this way, shortcutting. So the Queen will be number 1 for departure. She's gathering a crowd over here. There are a few other photographers as well standing alongside me in the grass to capture this beautiful airplane. And away she goes. YouTube fan informing us that this was the 4th Queen in fact of today's stream. So once I get home I will timestamp everything once again. Don't think we've seen any special liveries yet, but if we do come across them, I typically time mark them for your convenience in a pinned comment below the video. So if you missed earlier Queens today, fear not. I will time stamp them once I get home after today's stream. So if you want to look them back, you don't have to search for them. Right, so that was an Airbus A330. Now there are a couple of narrow bodies back to back. We have this Embraer and the line is followed by another Embraer, a Transavia 737, EasyJet Airbus. That is the line for now, but more is on the way. This looks like another Airbus from EasyJet. And if I look further, I was able to see some movement in the distance. Ah, there it is. Yeah. So that's another Transavia 737 also coming this way. First up, an Embraer, KLM. feels like the wind is picking up again. It's not as stormy as it was yesterday, fortunately, but it does feel a little bit like it's picking up again. Much more comfortable standing like this with my back into the wind. Obviously that is only feasible for me half the time, and the rest of the time I will have to face the wind, follow the planes after their takeoff roll. And the previous plane crossing from left to right in the distance. Hope you guys saw it. So visibility, as you can see, is good actually. Despite the clouds, their base is relatively high, so you are able to follow the airplanes quite long, although the backdrop of grey clouds makes for less contrast than a clear blue sky would give. Still, hardly any time to take it easy. Transavia 737 was already taking off. So you can follow the airplanes longer than you have time for actually. Makes me think that runway 09 is closed again at the moment. Let me see. In the distance, there's more underway. There is an A330 from Delta, a 737, two 737s, and it looks like the Emirates A388 Super is also on the move. Now, let me have a look at the current runway usage. Well, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? It seems that 36 right has opened for arrivals together with 06, but this is the only runway open for departures. So we are not only going to see 4 queens, but we are also going to see a king or a super, if you will. The Eagle confirming, and wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Emirates A380 Super. Doesn't it look a lot like it's coming this way? So that will be a channel first, I think. We've seen the A380 land quite a few times already, but it looks a lot like she's coming this way. Meanwhile, a Neo is taking off. Alright. Next up will be a Transavia Boeing 737. So, if you ask what's the status over there, we have a queue. Mostly narrow bodies, but as you can see in the background, there is a A330 from Delta about to line up. See that the sun temporarily has shown its face, momentarily illuminating the livery quite beautifully. So what's going on here? Is this an aborted takeoff? Or are they going to spool up? Doesn't seem that way. Another. Yep, something is up. Anybody is listening to ATC and knows what's going on here, please let us know in the chat. I'm very curious. Looks like she's going back to the gate. Rodok, if you're still with us, thanks for joining. It's been a pleasure. Hope to see you again soon. Take care. Enjoy the weekend for now. Hide user, remove hide user. So there was a spammer. Message was deleted. Can I also remove? All right. Right, back to the action. It is at the threshold. The KLM 737. Let me have a look at flight radar because oh right, I was curious where the A380 had gone to, but it is taxiing alongside runway 18 center. So let's have a look at the threshold. KLM flight 1931, a 737-900 outbound to Geneva. 21 years old, first flight, August 2001. Meanwhile, it seems that the A330 has just stopped, and apparently they are doing some checkings. It doesn't move. It's not moving back to the gate. So maybe it's something that they can fix. Maybe it's going to take off natural. For now, basically just vacating the runway so that outbound traffic can continue as planned, but we saw that with the rejected takeoff of the E2 Embraer 195 from KLM a couple of weeks ago as well, although it took another exit, but same thing happened. First they parked the vehicle and did checks or whatever, and in the case of the Embraer they finally weren't able to solve the problem apparently, and it continued taxiing back to the gate. The A330 still stands still over here. So we'll just have to wait and see. At the threshold at the moment, KLM flight 1995, it's an Embraer 190 off to Krakow in Poland. Airplane is 9 years old, first flight November 2013. And Michel van den Hoek informing about the equipment. Well, it's not so much mentioned, but it does. I do have a picture. A couple of weeks ago when I bought my new tripod, I took a picture of the camera with the microphone attached onto the camera and both on the tripod, and you should be able to see it on the community tab. Now here is, I think I have to rebalance my camera somewhat. I think I mistakenly shoved it too far ahead. Because it started to drift. Now it stays still whenever I release the lever, so that's alright again. So yeah, the A330 still standing still. Another is coming this way. There's also an A380 coming this way to take off. So a great many queens and one king and one angry A330 that is showing its behind to us, angry with us for something we undoubtedly did or didn't do. Folks, I don't know what happened with the A330 that is facing us with its behind. They were about to take off, but for some reason they couldn't and taxied off the runway again, and ever since they stood still over there. I'm hoping that somebody caught something while listening to ATC. Visually we couldn't see anything, no smoke or anything. Maybe an alarm went off, maybe a warning light went on during one of the checklists, I don't know, probably something like that. It's still standing still over there. Now the Emirates A380 Super is in the meantime has gone around runway 18 center, 36 center, and it's going to come this way for departure. In the meantime, another of Delta's A330. A330s is almost at the threshold. It's Delta Airlines flight 165 outbound to Minneapolis. An A330-300, 19 years old. First flight was in August 2003. And the A330 that you see in the foreground, the one that was supposed to fly to Boston, for the time being still waiting. So a peculiar sight, something you don't see every day. In the meantime, the other A330 is taking off successfully. At least that starts pulling up and accelerating successfully. If the takeoff itself will be successful, we'll find out soon enough. They are rotating, so even if something were wrong, they are committing to going into the air. Rate, gear up. One of the slowest, if not the slowest, retracting landing gears out there. The A330, the Neos have the same. They did improve a lot on the A330 Neo, but they seem to have skipped over the landing gear, or they figured the retracting speed was not something that needed to be improved. Which is more likely, of course. It only costs money. So, on the one hand, Emirates A380 Super outbound to Dubai, and on the right, Delta A330 that was supposed to go to Boston, and at the moment it's very much uncertain if it still is going to take off. So if anybody knows more about what's going on with the A330 from Delta, please let us know in the comments or in the chat. We are all very much curious. Meanwhile, on the left, the Emirates A380 outbound to Dubai. Taxiing over here, Emirates flight 148. It is an A380-800. She is 10 years old. First flight was in May 2012. And there is an Airbus A220 from Swiss Air following in the background. That is going to fly to Zurich. This airplane, 3 years old. First flight was in June 2019. Now the A330 still standing still over here, so let's just focus on what is moving and what is moving to the runway threshold. Now unfortunately not one of Emirates' special liveries, but a regular livery. Still a pretty airplane. A housing block on wings, with wings, on wheels with wings. I'm always amazed how these humongously big and heavy machines can take to the sky without falling to the ground. I'm sure the Wright brothers back in the day could not have fathomed that we would invent things like this and travel so quickly and so far with it. Now folks, If you're new to the channel, if you're liking what you're seeing, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so. Make sure to turn on notifications so that whenever I go live you receive a heads up and can join us again if you have the time for it. Now onto my right, the Delta A330 still standing still over there, exactly where she was a few minutes ago. Still unclear what happened there, why they aborted their takeoff. Somebody knows more, please let us know. Maybe somebody already answered something in the chat I haven't been able to check yet. I will in a minute. Alright, let me turn around the camera back to the threshold where an A220 from Swiss is lined up, probably ready to go in a few moments. There's also an interesting picture for me to take, because there are two A330s standing against each other, or almost visible. It looks like they are standing against each other. Maybe that will be the thumbnail for today's stream. I always pick one of my earlier thumbnails just to give you guys an idea of what you might expect. But I always try to make a new thumbnail from one of the highlights of the stream and use that as a thumbnail. So this was the A220 from Swiss, if I recall correctly, outbound to Zurich. Back at the threshold we have one of KLM's 737s and the A330 that we saw just now. It's also getting closer. Bye. Now still no news of what happened with Still no news of what happened with the A330. Just checking what's going on. Looks like there is also another triple coming this way. And on the A330, still standing here. Not really sure how long for it's going to stay around, but so far not sure. What I do know is that at the threshold at this moment is an Airbus A330-200. It is KLM flight 671 outbound to Montreal. The airplane, 16 years old, first flight was in July 2006. The triple we saw just now is going to fly to Curaçao, Willemstad. That is a 777-300ER, 8 years old, and the first flight of that 777 was in February 2015. In the meantime, the A330 from Delta, still standing here, hasn't moved a centimeter. If it's going to stick around for much longer, and we'll have to go back to the gate regardless of whether or not they resolve the issue to refuel. Because it also has its engines on still. Well, I'm exaggerating, of course. The fuel burn is not nearly as much as when they are flying. As a matter of speech. Alright, back to the triple it is. She's already lined up and won't be long before she's going to turn on all the lights and start rolling. So again, 777-300ER going to Willemstad, Curaçao, 8 years old. There she goes. So, the 777 off to warmer parts of the world. Delta A330 that was supposed to go to Boston, still standing still here. I didn't see any updates yet in the chat about what might be going on over there. Did anybody capture anything? Kathleen says that someone from the airport emergency services did head out to the Delta A330. Oh! Well, look at that. Look at that. I have to say I probably missed that part of the emergency services, or at least I didn't see anything when I glanced to the airplane every now and then. But she is going back to the threshold, so whatever it was is probably resolved. So the A330 outbound to Boston will go to the threshold for a second time in a few moments. There's a 737 from KLM just passing me by, as you probably heard and saw. Before the Delta A330 is going to do a second attempt at taking off, we have this Air France Embraer. So this is Air France, operated by Air France Hop, one of their Embraer 170s, off to Marseille. The airplane, 12 years old, first flight was in June 2010, and number 2 for the second time today. Delta Airlines flight 257 outbound to Boston. And let me show you the rest. Let me tell you the rest in a minute. Up. Alright, let's see what happens next when, for the second time within the hour, A330 outbound to Boston from Delta. Delta flight 257 is lining up. It is an A330-300. She is 8 years old. First flight was in January 2015. And let's see. Well, as far as I can tell, nothing out of the ordinary, technically at least. Must have been a warning light or something. Oh, is this one of those moments where they are going to leave the landing gear down because the brakes have overheated and first need to be air cooled before being retracted? Seems that way. Or is it just the main landing gear that is still extended and has the nose gear retracted? Oh no, it's going up. So it was a matter of cooling the brakes probably. after a little delay, off to Boston it is for this A330 from Delta. In the meantime, an Airbus from Top Air Portugal lined up at the threshold, ready to go. So this is the A320 from Top Air Portugal, flight 673, outbound to Lisbon. It is an A320-200. She is 21 years old. First flight November 2001. And bird controllers are once again setting off fireworks. You heard it just now. Smooth takeoff. She takes to the skies. Let me zoom out. Turn back around. Looking towards the main platform area, as to my right one of the many 737s from KLM is taking off. I see that there's a triple coming this way. By the looks of it, another 737. That was, of course, another 737. BA, Airbus. Looking to come this way. A330 from KLM. And lining up at the threshold as the bird controller passes us by. Another Airbus K4 stopping right in front of us, on the move once again, making Schiphol a safer place for everybody. Now at the threshold we have this KLM Embraer, but it still has the lights off. Over here there is a BA Airbus. Oh wait, now it has its lights off and the Embraer has its lights on, so this one will take off first. It's always exciting to guess which one will be first. There isn't a lot of time to waste. Back at the threshold, the A330 is turning onto the runway, and here in front of us, BA also ready to go. A320-200 off to London Heathrow. She's 20 years old. First flight was in October 2002. Okie dokie. Enough about that. Back to the threshold. We are seeing a couple of heavies. There is an A330 lined up. There's a triple behind it. There's also an a Dreamliner from Saudi. And I think the one we were still missing, the 767, Latin cargo over here. Now the only heavy we haven't seen so far is an A300. We haven't seen the bananas from Delta DHO yet, but can't have it all. 4 queens and a super. I'm very content with that. A350, Dreamliners, A330s, no Neos though. All in all, I think we cannot complain with the variation of airplane types that we've seen so far this afternoon. So at the threshold we have this 777-200 ER off Vancouver, 19 years old, first flight November 2003. Both planes in the same view, the previous one and the current one. Beautiful. Always lovely when visibility is good. You can see exactly how the departure routes, the standard instrument departure routes, how they are. Now we have a line of several aircraft. Threshold at the moment, a Boeing 737-800 from KLM that is going to fly to Berlin. 4 years old, first flight March 2019, and after that we will see the Dreamliner that is going to fly to Jeddah. Back to the threshold. It is where we already see the Dreamliner lining up. this is Saudia flight 216. It is a 7879 Dreamliner. She's off to Jeddah in a few moments. The airplane 6 years old. First flight was in February 2017. Well, we don't have a lot of time to enjoy these flights after they have taken off, because it is already time for the next one. The Boeing 767 from LATAM Cargo is already lined up and she is off to Frankfurt. So it's a very small flight, brief flight I should say. The airplane we see, 11 years old, first flight was in October 2011. Boeing 767-300ER off to Frankfurt. So unless she is very heavily loaded, expect a short takeoff roll. Rather quickly. Not a lot of fuel, probably also not a lot of cargo, or at least not so much that the required runway length very extensive. Also, if I zoom out, maybe you guys can see she's already quite high, also climbing fast. So not a whole lot of weight on board for this flight. Okay, so there is another Airbus from EasyJet. I'm also having a look to see what else is there. There's quite an extensive view. 7.3 Embraer, 7.3 Airbus, Embraer, and E2 Embraer. All narrow bodies. Now back to the threshold. I think, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to wrap it up shortly, particularly because my hands are getting cold. I have very thin gloves on that in hindsight too thin for me for this current temperature. It is still in single digit centigrade, so we're still below 50 Fahrenheit. Over here there's constantly wind blowing against you, and yeah, I feel that my hands are getting more rigid because of the cold. Forgot my hand warmer. I was under the impression that as it's officially spring and we also went summertime here last night, that I wouldn't be needing it anymore. But I was wrong. Horribly wrong. No, but I do feel that my fingers are getting more rigid. Controlling the camera becomes a bit more difficult. So I think after this airplane I'm going to wrap it up. I think Word from V1 is still streaming a little bit down the road. At least I thought I read that in one of the comments. Plus, also commented in the chat earlier in the beginning of the stream. So if you guys can't get enough of the action over here, make sure to check his channel and his stream. For me, I am looking to go back again tomorrow for another live stream. I don't know exactly yet what the weather will be tomorrow, if it's going to be dry or not, if there are going to be just a few occasional rain showers or maybe an entire day of rain. I don't know yet. Weather permitting, if it is doable for me in terms of precipitation and temperature, I will go out again tomorrow. I don't know yet if when I do go out, if it's going to be in the mornings or if it's going to be in the afternoon. I will let you know beforehand by announcing a new live stream, but weather permitting, I will be out again tomorrow. I hope I will see you again, if not tomorrow, then at least during one of the other upcoming streams. After tomorrow, I think it might be Friday on the earliest that I can go out again. I have other things I need to do during daytime on Tuesday, Wednesday, and also this week on Thursdays. So I am going to wrap it up for now. I want to thank each and every one of you once again for joining me here. It's been a blast. Everybody who still has weekend, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. For those of you whose weekend is already over, have a nice week. Hope to see you all again soon. If you guys didn't do so already, consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure that when you do, turn on the notifications so that whenever I go live, you receive a heads up. And if you have the time for it, you can join us once again. For now, I'm gonna say goodbye and I'll see you all at the next one. Take care, be well, see you soon.